Oh, nobody's on yet. Here I am, One Divine, and this is the premiere of the One Divine podcast. So let's get to it. One of the things that I do in anything I do is to make everything sacred, everything sort of a little ceremony, but especially when I bring forth any creation. And I used to even pray when I was a photographer years ago, before I would do the session, because it's sacred energetic space. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just have us drop in. If you're driving, you don't want to close your eyes, but maybe even you want to close your eyes for a minute and just drop in with me. I'm going to play little tones. Well, I hope this is going out all right. Okay. There's presence in the presence. That's one of the things that came through to me. There's presence in the presence. And I am going to be bringing through some transmissions and codes on this podcast. This is my first one. And sometimes it takes me just a sec to get out of my own way and bring it through. I got a little list that I'm doing here. 2 people on. Let me put the comments on. This is going to go onto audio podcast wherever podcasts are shown. But this is actually kind of a recent command calling to do this, that is in concert with some other things that I'm bringing forward into the world that I'm being called to right now. And I'm going to tell my story today a little bit. For those who don't know me, I am One Divine. My name on my license, my legal name now, whatever that's worth, is One Divine Davis. My lineage is important, my clan. And I am going to just call in a little sacred space, as I said. And I offer myself to divine, to be one with divine, to bring forth and co-create with divine, for fun, for beauty, for truth, for whatever wants to come through that is pure, that will be of service, that will be whatever it's going to be. But it's time to create. It's time to create. It's always been time to create. But right now, as we are going into this new and golden age, we have just gone Mercury direct today. And I always say I'm not an astrologer. I'm an alchemist. And we'll get into what that means to me anyway, with what I do throughout the process of this podcast. But I am being called to and giving myself permission to, and going past discomfort of taking up space. And I have, for most of my lifetime, been in the creative fields, the technology fields, and the branding and marketing and messaging and communication and all of that. But primarily it has been for other people, to broadcast their message, their company, their photograph, their whatever, right? And for many years, it was really hard for me to get out from behind the camera or the desk. No, pay no mind to the wizardress behind the curtain, right? I didn't want that. I love to observe. And that is what teaches me. That is what teaches all of us if we're paying attention. And I happen to be, as I've said in my little intro for this podcast, I call myself an autistic mystic. And I claim that and I own that. And I own my weird and I'm wearing my weird. So you know what's coming at you anyway, you know. So I'm going to talk about that too. And of course, weird is beautiful, it's supernatural, it's what it means. Okay, so that's cool. So I'm getting with the weird. And introduction and hook. I got a little list. Thank you, Chat GPT. AI can be your friend, can be of service, used rightfully like any other energies, right? So the teacher of righteousness taught right use of energies. That was the whole point. And we are in this process where we have, as I said, just gone direct. This timing is no accident. I thought I was going to do it earlier today, and it didn't happen. It wasn't supposed to happen then, and it's supposed to happen now. And I'm getting out of my own way again, as I said, that we all need to do this to get out of our own way of our resistance to being who we are, bringing forward what we have to bring forward. And many have things that they have been persecuted for lifetimes, and this lifetime, and rejected for from their tribe or community or family. And there's enough of us now. There's enough who have been on this path for decades, or who have newly moved into the awakening path, in the ascension path. And then there are some who are just coming online who need to know it's all good. It's okay. You know, this whole thing is going down with such divine precision and orchestration that we have these waves so that we can each help each other over the next wave. So I'm speaking from where I am at, but I know, and I will share who I am, why I came. And there will be many of us who are not internet superstars, podcast superstars. Maybe nobody has ever heard of us yet, but we've been waiting in the wings going, tick tock. Time to come out and play. So thank you. Athena is here live. I'm broadcasting this live first. I went up the mountain on the full moon evening as I was guided to at sunset, which is where I was for the eclipse. And I was to be in motion during the eclipse because it's timeline business. Okay. And we have just dropped earlier today. I was weaving with a friend of mine, Valerie Elster. Some of you in this audience may know her or know of her. She's a galactic Shah woman. And we've done a lot of work together over the years. But I was in the kitchen and I just was looking something on my laptop, and woof, it was so massive. It was the energy that came in and what was happening. And I just called out, I was like, what is happening? What just went down? And then I walked into the living room and it's still going. It was just jamming. Did you feel that today? I don't know. Thursday, you're listening to this. And there she is. Valerie's on. She said it just dropped a new timeline. I'm like, whoa, that was massive. And what she just said in the comments, opening space for the children, 100%. I was just guided a couple of times with things that came through online from children who were giving me direct messages. So I'm like, I see you, little guy. Thank you for the message. Received, taking it. And also good, because Valerie and I have talked about it too. Like, we're tired. So come on, kids. And these campuses are blowing up. What? We're done with this. We're done with apartheid. We're done with genocide. We're done with this war. We're done. Stop, please. Those who are not being noble stewards of their thrones, of the money, of the lands, of any of it will be removed from their post. We don't have any other choice, right? We literally don't. Speaking of time, TikTok, we're done. So I'm going to get into it and talk about, first of all, what I'm seeing and receiving about what this podcast is to be. And some of you who are on, I hope, will be on this podcast with me. This first one, this premiere episode, I'm just going to kind of explain who I am, but I'm not going to go into too many defining details because this is the whole point of this operation, is to just become a frequency, an authentic frequency of who I am, and a shapeshifter, and I'm whoever I'm supposed to be that day in that moment. Not a bunch of titles or me saying why I'm qualified to say this, that, or the other thing. It's if you want to listen and you want to receive, and those who do, we know how this works, right? Are supposed to receive this message instead of mow the lawn. And I thank you for those who are joining live and those who are joining after, which it's still the same time. And I want to share the story of the death and rebirth of one of the many, right? Many of us who have been on this path have died and reborn a whole bunch of times to alchemize into who we are today. But it was a very guided journey for what I did, what I was guided to do, what dropped in for this round of the tournament, as I say. Hold on, I'm gonna grab my shawl. For those of you who are listening podcast style, I'm grabbing my shawl because I'm a little chilly. And I'm just going to keep going. And I drove up at the full moon at dusk. And just as I was not even fully like a third of the way up, it started coming in, because I was trying to play in my mind what I was to speak about, or call in or listen to what I was going to say or what it was about. And it's not going to come until it comes. You got to go live. I'm like, shit. Okay. For those of you on the podcast, I'm now struggling with said sweater. Okay, we got it. It's not a sweater, it's a shawl thing, and it's really cozy, and it feels like a blanket, and I want a blankie right now because we all need to be comfy right now. And I knew I'll get those things where I think I'm going to do a video, and then they're like, no, go live. And many of you also who do this sort of thing know there's a different energy, or there's a timing, or there's a reason for it. And part of the reason for it for me was to get out of my own way, not overthink it, not try to do it, not turn it into a 6-hour freaking thing that I'm like editing or stopping and starting and trying again. I'm just not doing that. So here I am. This is what it is. And it might get meandery. It might get nonlinear. And I always bring it back on the ramp. So just stick with it, kids. If you want to. Free will choice. But there's a lot going on right now. And I know and have received, and part of the impetus and push to do this was to bring through codes and transmissions that need to come through at this time. And those who are going to bump into it are supposed to. We know how it goes. I'm just supposed to put it out in the water. And I'm supposed to reach a larger audience outside of my friends and family in my cozy little comfort place. I have an organization called the Mothership Alliance, which is also going to be taking another quantum leap this year on many fronts. That has all been in planning for the last 4 years, and practice, and all of the things that we've done with the crew that we have. And that is going to go to its next level. We're all going to be going to our next level from whatever level we are at. and it's big, and it's a lot about integrating too, and a lot of people need some assistance in how to manage their energies, or what is this receiving modality, what do they do with it, how do they employ it in their regular daily lives, how do they read the signs, symbols, and synchronicities, how maybe can they identify their path and the messages and the guidance that they're giving themselves, that they're receiving from their guides, whatever that is. Between what I know and what I've discovered as said autistic mystic with pattern recognition, savant kind of thing, I have clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, clairvoyance from Planet Claire. Love that song. Those dating yourself, Gen X, B-52s, Planet Claire, super good. And through the clairaudience, I receive a lot through music. And I'm really enjoying watching the field and seeing so many more coming online, receiving through the music. And I want to talk about the music because that is one of the things that is coming through for a message for everyone too. It is prophecy that there will be signs. And music is so much deeper, right, than we really can fully comprehend. And the universe is music, and we are music, and the music is math, and it is all incorporated. But in terms of receiving through music, lyrics, things like that, this will be really amplifying from what I'm shown. This will be more and more will hear it. And as soon as they really learn how to do it too, that they don't have to attach, like the whole song may not mean something to you, but those 2 words that popped out do. And it was a confirm for something you were thinking or getting, or turn right, whatever it is. There are various modalities of receiving, and they fascinate me. I have been a studier of humans. Humans fascinate me. That's another very common neurodivergent autistic kind of thing, where we're like fascinated by human and human behavior, and we like watch it, mimic it, track it, become careers where we are social, do like social stuff and studies or statistics or whatever. It's fascinating. It's nerdy fun for me. And I'm fascinated at group alchemy, and I am adept at it in how we can amplify our intentions, our power, our ceremonies, our frequency so beyond measure when we come together with an intention and in certain number combinations or archetypes, right? Lineages, all of these things. And I am shown them, and they happen also organically because it's just magnetic, right? So we will attract whoever's attracted to this. And if you're liking it and you're feeling it, share it out, share it out, share me out. I've not wanted to take the stage for a long time. And this is something Valerie and I have talked about too, because we both are being shown it's time to go out more. And for those who do know me, know that I've been on a media mission and a yammering about that for years because of what I'm shown, what is coming. And it is here. And we are already, you're seeing the content sphere, the immense waves of frequency and content that people are bringing through light language and music and geometry, and they know what they're doing. They're putting codes and writing things and piercing it together with symbols and colors, and we all know what we're doing. We all came here to do this. But what's going to happen is it's going to amplify just even more and synchronize even more. As our telepathy increases, we are going to be like, we don't even have to send out the memo. We will be organizing to do certain things in big waves and that sort of thing. I have seen. I was shown about the censorship and everything that was coming. The censorship is so bad, I hardly want to say the word because the algo gets stiffed. It's unbelievable. You don't have to be a statistical autistic genius to watch what happens depending on what you post, especially if you post an opinion that is unpopular to the narrative. Like, we don't even have to go there. We know, but that's a scary time. But what I received in around 2014, during the few years of like my massive awakening and downloads and prophetic sort of receiving about what was going to happen at this time and what my role, and then I started being prepared and trained toward that end. But this is it. This is what we've been preparing for. And of course, we will continue to do our work, but this time where we are taking over the mic, we are taking over the airwaves. I just posted on my story, somebody posted the healers are in charge now. Yes, we are. And it's cleanup time, it's heal up time, it's also activate time, unite time. Come together, amplify that to provide everything we need, because we all have everything we need. We have everything we need. And as we find each other, as we see each other, as we teach each other, as we heal each other, as all of that happens, this tipping point has already been reached. I saw Sarah of Magdalene. If you follow her, she used to be Do It Girl. She posted today, she's trying to work, but she can't like stop watching these college kids, this tipping point of what's happening. I don't know if you're feeling that, because I'm feeling that. So, again, not something I planned, not something I scripted, but that's what's going to go on this podcast. Whatever's coming through at the time to be spoken, whoever is coming through, who I'm guided to, who's guided to me, and we know that we're supposed to broadcast our signal and do this at this time. This is a major operation. One of the other things I was told, along with the censorship coming, was that there will be a witch hunt to end all witch hunts. There will be a witch hunt to end all witch hunts. That's the words that came. So it's already happening. It's interesting. I'm watching the unraveling of a lot of false light gurus and things like that. Of course, the celebrity things going on, the politicians coming, it's all just out there. And those who are not noble stewards are being removed from their posts. But there was another one today who I've had some interaction with that just got blown out, and that was not in integrity. And I saw it. But the thing is that those who, it's just that sort of thing's going to sort itself out, but we still have free will choice to say no, and also to let people know. But with the witch hunt to end all witch hunts, I don't want to get off that topic because it's part of all of this. We have to watch and be careful. Not careful, that's the wrong words. Unite and know, as we see what is real light and what is not real light. We can see that, but there will be an effort. Some of the things and some of that they were writing about, some of these people that were not in integrity running some cult, some of the things that they said they believed in, and they're like, and they think they talk to galactics and angels and mother and blah, 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 and doing codes and whatever, which, this is some of what we do. So there can be a time where, they might try to color us all the same color of, if you believe that stuff, if you believe that you're talking with galactic or angels, or, that you're channeling through, some messages or whatever, then you're a cult leader, then you are a witch, then this is witch shit again, right? So this is our time where enough of us are awakened and courageous enough and bold enough. We see that it won't work. See, it's the witch hunt to end all witch hunts, because we're all awakened enough that we are in our power, we are in our confidence to go, no, I know who I am and I know what the fuck I'm doing here, you know, and I'm not taking a bunch of money and I'm not exploiting anyone, so we will. It's a witch hunt ain't even gonna end well, because as everybody awakens, like, what, we're all witches? Okay, yeah, well, yeah, we're all magic, you know, and unapologetically, we came here to do this. We came here to end the ancestral lines of trauma and cure and transmute and alchemize all that shit. And so we are. And we also came here to create the new earth. And that's what we're doing too. And that's a big part of my blueprints that I hold, that things that I'm doing here in Mount Shasta, to model the micro of the macro, so that reverberates out everything you do, everything we do. Make it sacred, and it reverberates out and writes the new timelines and writes the new codes and awakens somebody else, and they get that idea to do it in this way. And we're all receiving so many people, so many new earth builders, so many receivers that I have come together with. Our blueprints, either they're a template that is just being used in a similar way for a different reason, or they lock together perfectly. Right? These divine templates, the organic technology, the divine intelligence is all being restored. And not only that, there's new layers, new program, new OS for humanity that's being installed and integrated now. And some of these old structures, these old timelines, these old technologies, this won't work. It's like when you have a Mac, and it's older, and then they start releasing all the new OS, and eventually you have to get a new Mac, or you got to run an old OS, right? So the old tech won't even work in the new frequencies. And we are the new frequencies. We are the flood. That's what Spirit said to me. We are the flood. Yeah, there's going to be a storm. Yeah, there's going to be a big flood. It's us. So one of the reasons that I still haven't gotten to the story, I'm half an hour in. I'm not used to taking up this much space. I'm like, I try to keep it like 15, 10, 15, 20 minutes, even in some of my ceremonies where I speak. And I have to get comfortable with that. We have to get comfortable with that, and have places where you can get little tidbits for people. But if we want to go on a little deeper with one another, if we want to go on a journey together and really connect and teach anything, it's one of the things Valerie and I were also discussing, right? We're getting to the age where we're tired. No, yeah, but we're to teach, and that's where I'm at in my phase. And so I'm really happy to see these campuses blowing up. I'm really happy to see these amazing, powerful younger generations, not just college kids, but the younger generations putting together schools, putting together their teachings and healings and getting out there on their platforms. Yay. And those of us who have accumulated some miles under our wheels, some asphalt, and have some things to share, codes to share, teachings, mastery skills, storytelling that include quantum information, right? This is why the oracular tradition for wisdom keeping was very often women. It was very often storytelling. And that's because there's information and frequency that comes through between the words, right? So it's more than you can print those words on a book, but it's not going to be the same as the storyteller who's a wisdom keeper. And so we're supposed to all tell our stories, right? Share your stories. And I'm not intending to overshare my story either, because that's also important, that you have sacred, there's certain circles of information, intimacy. I don't need to give intimacy to everyone, but I'm also bringing vulnerability and real deal authenticity. We have to do that now, model that now, so it gives others permission to do so. Because clearly I've given all my fucks away about what anybody thinks of me. I'm like, I'm over the edge. That was part of the purpose, part of the story that I'm going to eventually tell in the rest of this podcast about One Divine's birth and what prompted that, what's about that. I know a lot of people, like immediately it was so good. It cleared the fucking playing field for a lot of things. Like, eye roll, like I've been the person that eye rolled in the past. Believe me, and what does that mean? Who do you think you are or whatever? Got them right off the playing field. Okay, kids, now the rest of you are left. Let's get together and have some fucking fun and not take this so seriously. Right? And also understand maybe deeper levels of alchemy and symbolism and the power of the spoken word, the power of the number, the power of the programming, for everybody to just read I am one divine when I answer a comment on an Instagram. Right? Haha, making everybody say an I am statement because we're all one divine. And in this podcast and my message and my work is all about helping people to find their divinity and to radiate their magnificence and my own magnificence to the highest expression that I'm capable of, to be of the highest service to the most with what I know, who I am, and to inspire other people to do the same. And to help what Archangel Michael said to me when I really started receiving him and understanding it was him, and understanding this journey that I've been on with him and other guides, angels, higher self, grandmothers, great mother, who's been the one that's been holding my hand for this whole way. In particular, I work for her. And I totally lost my train of thought about that, about what we're being guided to do. Oh, I know. Archangel Michael. That's where I was. Okay. Light up the light workers and train the transition teams. Light up the light workers and train the transition teams. That's a big part of my directive. And I know that I'm a code keeper. I know that and we all are, we all have things for each other. We have codes that connect, that then run a larger program, and they come together in right timing for when that's supposed to run. But yesterday I was speaking with someone, maybe she's listening. She also has a platform on YouTube, and she'll be on the show, Melanie Easom. And she reached out to me right when I was mentally reaching out to her. We don't even have to call anymore. You get that a lot more now. There's always been that kind of synchro of, like, especially people you're really connected with, right? You think of them and they call or whatever. But I don't know about you, but for me, it is on right now. Like, it is on. It just so fast. The confirmations, the telepathy, everything is so amplified. And it's, I always get, you ain't seen nothing yet. But the purpose of me saying that was, I gotta turn down this music. That's what's distracting me a little bit. I had some sound bowl situation going on. I hope it wasn't interfering. Back in the game. What I was trying to articulate what I've been made to understand about some of this stuff that I bring through or meant to bring through or will be coming through is, and what I received was, look up instruction sets on computer. And so I left her that message and I went and looked it up again. And it is like a set of instructions, right, that run software on a CPU or a family of CPUs or a family in a network. And I got it as soon as they showed me. I've got it, right? And that's some of what I have. Family of light is a network. Think of it like a group of computers that are all connected. And then when the new OS or the new program comes in, it runs all of them so they're synchronized. And that's what's happening for us. That's what we're receiving from the sun, from whoever is supposed to at whatever time. It is just all, to me, how I see a lot of things and I understand in terms of technology, because it works so much like that. Although our technology that we have is, not anything in comparison to the big computer, okay? But this elements are the same, wireless data transfer, hello, telepathy, the cloud. Carl Jung, who I've studied quite a bit because he got it. He got into quantum physics and synchronicity and the science of signs, symbols, and synchronicity and how that works. And that is something that I work on. I understand, I see. And Carl Jung talked about, the collective conscious, super conscious, all of that. And it's just the same thing. It's the cloud. You're downloading a file from the cloud and you can wirelessly transfer it to somebody. You have it right here, or you can grab from your external hard drive, the Akashic records. This is what we can do, and it's all the same, and it's files, and there's certain things that we might forget. We don't need to keep them. As we evolve too, you might find that you're forgetting something that you had right in your mind before, or you were talking about it yesterday, or you knew all about this, and it just goes away. Don't sweat it. I mean, obviously, if you're having memory problems, you might want to look into that. But don't sweat that, because what I'm shown too, you can get it back anytime you want, but we don't need to keep it on the hard drive. We need to have such a clean vessel and unit for us to be able to process the data that comes in, retrieve what we need. It's like it's coming right now is a MacBook Air, right? It doesn't even have a local. It can just grab what it needs when it needs it. So that's us. We're like a MacBook Air. That's what's coming. Yes, I do Apple products. Now I'm going to get to the story of my birth into one divine. I don't go too deep back into the stories of my past. I will if I'm pulling them for a metaphor or an interesting story or whatever. But I really have tried to leave behind a lot of stories I'm done with. They're not even relevant to me anymore. And they're not even who I am anymore. And many will be finding that they are stepping into a version of themselves that is so far different. That's why a lot of people change their names. And I used to have like a thing, like, I'm like, oh my God, sunshine, rainbow, blah, blah, blah. I love my name. My name was Robin. Your air is out of memory, says Valerie. That's funny. But I was talking about my oh, I'm just going to take a breath because I just distracted myself, and I don't need to rush this, and I don't need to be perfect at this. But I want to share this because it's part of who I am, why I am, and what I'm doing, and what this podcast is about. But it's also what humanity is going through, and many are going through as they're rebirthing into the new versions of themselves, or rather the authentic, true versions of themselves. So I'm going to talk right now just about Mount Shasta, where I am. And if you could see through the windows, the mountain is right behind me. And the energy right now, I don't know about you, well, unless you're live, but like, wow, pulsing. So much is happening collectively. So much is happening timeline wise, ascension timeline wise. It is super powerful and I am super feeling it. So I have been coming to Mount Shasta for working, like being guided to come here and work and do things since 2020, since uh, COVID shut down. And I was living in Washington State at the time. And I was guided right after shutdown to begin an open membership and create the Mothership Alliance, which is a PMA and ministry and service with and for the Great Mother, and create that container. We've held ceremonies, we've done shows, we've done all of created community, model community, and it's not done by a long shot. There are certain numbers and order and organization to it, and it's all woven in with all of this work. But what was up in, I think it was Lionsgate was my first visit where I came and got together with people here that I knew and did ceremony. And I kept coming back. I came back right after that for Halloween. I came back the next summer solstice. I came back for the next Lionsgate after that in 2021. And in 2021, I lost my home in Washington State that I had with my son for 3 years there, because the property was purchased by a new owner who then proceeded to cut down all of the trees, including my mother tree that I had done ceremony with a group and where I lived and everything. And she was a little off, and it's still not done. It's still just a wreck. It's still just like cut. Anyway, that was also, I knew at that time, me collapsing a field there. I was supposed to hold space with those trees. It's where I learned to talk to trees. My original birth name was Robin Davis, and it is now One Divine Davis. In 2021, at that time, I was doing part-time, half the time, the Mothership Alliance, and the other half of the time I was working as a marketing strategist and creative director with Robert Edward Grant. And it was Robert who gave me the opportunity to begin teaching the science of sign symbols and synchronicity and the tech of tuning in. I called it on the first trip in 2020, which was just before the shutdown. And then we came back and then everything shut down and then the mothership began. And then we went back in 2021, but in October. And I was still working with them and I was guest faculty also on that trip to Egypt, the second trip to Egypt. And it was just preceding that I was going to have to end my stay there. I even cut out early in my lease. She couldn't do it because she just like went bananas and cut down everything, lilac trees, everything. And I knew and was getting guided to put all my stuff in storage, go rogue and go nomadic. My son had just was moving into his own place and gave him a bunch of stuff. And then I put my stuff in storage and it's still in storage until next month. That'll be a later episode and story. Amazing miracles happening right now. But so I proceeded to go to Egypt and then I went to Portugal and then I came back and I've been traveling ever since. I took a year in between in 2022 and came here for a year. And then I went back out as I was guided for 7 months. And now I'm back. I've been back for 4 months. And this is where I'm staying. This is where the mothership is landing. This is where this mother is landing. This is where I'm to root at the root chakra of the planet and root the mother and root temple and root the micro of the macro that I'll be modeling and sharing, and anything else I'm guided to do. And it was in 2022, early 2022, I also spent time at another root, Santa Fe, which Valerie was here. We were doing some weaving in Santa Fe this year and before that, and then she came here to Shasta for equinox, and we were getting, it's the root chakra of the country to the root chakra of the planet, root to root. And this is important. Another thing that I am as a grid worker. So it's all woven into the things that I do, and most of which I do that are completely just divinely guidance. And it has been a journey and a successive journey in trading to get to the point where I know how to read the language. I know how to get the messages. I know how to move. I know, yes, no, or maybe it's changing a timeline or be able to shift and pivot. That's what this whole training of the nomadic journey, the traveling journey that I did even before I went nomadic, and I was working with Robert and traveling around the world and also doing grid work, that trained me for this time. And I knew at the time that I was being trained for that, and it helped me with my Rain Man shit, like where I had a whole system, because changing state can be very difficult. That's another thing I'm going to bring into this podcast, because most of us, if not all of us, if we are on this path, on this sort of like energetic awakening light team path, we're just neurodivergent by nature, I think, right? Or the matrix would just work really fine for us, or that sort of program, and it doesn't. And this is how the program is broken, is because a whole bunch of us come in, and these kids come in who can't deal with that program at all, and we work a little differently, and that's how the program gets rewritten, right? So I'm part of the rewriting, and I came to Santa Fe, and I stayed with Alan Green, who will be on this podcast as well for sure. Dear friend, also worked with me and taught with me, and has decoded Shakespeare and has a show on Gaia. But he and I stayed in the same place with a mutual friend who we met in Egypt in 2021. In the beginning of 2022, I stayed there for a couple of months. And it was there on that land that I had a mystical, unbelievably powerful experience with the grandmothers who are so present on that land and who are so present in Santa Fe and the ancestors, but it was the grandmothers. And Saffron Satara, for those who may follow her, this is the same team, same group, same she said it all began with the grandmothers for her, like the luminary container that she's doing right now that I'm participating in because I was called to, because we are all supposed to be linking and activating one another and amplifying this now, the family coming together to do this now. And it was because of that I received from the grandmothers a whole directive, and was shown me shaving my head and changing my name. I didn't have the name yet. I knew divine was part of it. And I was taken through, I was alone on the land. Alan was gone in LA, and the family who lives on the land, my dear friend Clara and Ward Hendon and their family who hosted us, they were gone in different directions, and I was holding down the fort with the animals, chickens, goats, and it was, I think, like a full moon or something. It was insane, and I knew, had been shown, that there would be a point at which I would be alone on the land there. And I was, and when I was, it was the grandmothers came in. I was taken and guided through an entire healing, lineage healing ceremony, I guess you would call it. But it was like, it went from my married with children nuclear family to my mother and father and two sisters nuclear family, up and up until like the bigger family, like all of the healing there. And I wept and I wept and I wept. And I was guided to use the handkerchief with my Aunt Edna's knit heirloom, beautiful handmade handkerchief that was with my mother's ashes with me too, and use that and put those together and leave those tears symbolically together. And I won't go into detail about what all came down, but that night was when there was a huge windstorm. I always say the wind is the grandmother's, and then the fire started in Santa Fe, in that area in New Mexico. And there were two fires that ended up merging into one huge fire. And there was fire there from then on, almost the entire time that I stayed there until I left to head back to Shasta. I'm right on top of this microphone. Sorry if the sound changed, but I had my eyes closed because I was just trying to stay in the story. And I think that actually that command, it pushed every one of my buttons, and they knew that. Like my mother, Mary, who I grew up with, uh, was diagnosed bipolar. I believe she was also misdiagnosed, undiagnosed autistic as well. And my father was also bipolar. Both have passed, and also undiagnosed autistic. I know that for a fact. And so many, I believe, of the misdiagnosed mental illnesses, mistreated, misunderstood, are all product of a neurodivergence of also our sick society, so that us canaries in the coal mine get sick or addicted or whatever. That's another piece that I will be bringing into this podcast. I am in addiction recovery. I've not had alcohol for 11 and a half years. So that's some of my work that I'll be bringing forward to help people in that community, my community, there, and with what I have learned around that. But I'm kind of feeling the energy closing. I don't want this to go on past an hour. And I'm feeling that I will share the rebirth story and how OD happened from Mount Shasta, what happened when I left Santa Fe after I had seen that outcome, had been shown that. I had been like, oh my God, seriously? The seed was planted, the message was given, and then I went to Mount Shasta. From there, I had rented a house, and there was synchronicity that just took me the whole way, that I will share in that. It's been too much of a story. It's been a little meandering, but it's a little introduction of where we're going and how OD happened. And I guess you'll have to tune in next episode where I'll tell you how the whole shave thing went down, why it's staying, and the ceremony around it, what's happened since, and what it all represents. Not to leave a exciting cliffhanger. I just wanted to acknowledge those who are here. To Athena was saying, I was guided to go to massage therapy school while I was in a school. A family counseling center in a college campus city hired me. So mental health work, body work, point about our kids and the healers on the rise hits for me. Been getting that message. We came here to do this. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes, we did. Especially the mental health and addiction and homelessness and all of this. We have to take care of the family. And those of us who have been through it, like nobody gets alcoholics sober but other alcoholics most of the time. That's, um, those who have been through it can help others through it, whatever it is, whether it's addiction or traumas or anything else. And we have the technology. But I guess I apologize for not finishing my OD story. You can call me one, you can call me OD, you can call me One Divine. You don't have to call me One Divine all the time. Some people call me One Divine all the time, and it's kind of funny. I don't know. I don't mean it to be ostentatious. The magnificence part of it was something I was reminded of when I was being shy about coming out in LA with my shop and studio with my name on the building. Like, instead of a brand name I was hiding behind or something, I received, and it was, magnificence and humility are not mutually exclusive. And that was from Grandma Anna, Yeshua's grandmother, Saint Anne. And she's a guide of mine, and that came through, and I understood it immediately. And when the name One came through with it, and I knew, and I'll tell that whole story because it deserves its own spot without a jumble of the rest of this salad. Because it's a pretty good story. And the shit that happened that like made it so undeniable what I was supposed to do was like hilarious. So I'll leave that for another episode. I'm gonna do it every week. I'll be here every week. But magnificence and humility, when it came in, because I was just like, oh my God, that's so outrageous. Like One Divine, and it is that magnificence and humility. It's not the One Divine. It's one. I am one with the One. I am one of many. I am just one of God's children. And, but the magnificence of the divinity that I am, that we are. And to put that actually in the system with the driver's license bureau and the Social Security cracked me up. The day that I got the paperwork done, the judge I went to see with the clerk whose name was Crystal, and my judge whose name was Christian, who was the brother-in-law of a witch I know in Washington. You can't write this shit. You cannot write this shit. So if you want to stay tuned to more can't write this shit stories, this is the place to be. And I am grateful that you joined me. It's 5:58. Mari's been here for a lot of this. When I said Mari, I forget that this is going to go on a podcast. It's my first podcast, yo. Okay, so most of it's going to be audio, but those of you who are seeing the live video version, either on YouTube or Mothership, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, I fired up the OD channel. I'm going to have a One Divine YouTube. It's its own thing. It's produced. We're producing and birthing from the mother, right? We're birthing, but the kids go off on their own and they do their thing. And I'm one of the kids and I'm doing my thing. So it is, while it's not necessarily the Mothership Alliance thing, it's just birth there. And then I'm taking it on the road. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I know I forgot stuff. I don't really remember everything I said, but I hope I covered all the bases. It'll be on all the podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, yada, yada. And it's my first whirl, and I'm glad that you joined me. And I hope that some of you can come on with me and kick it. It's easier when it's another person with, because then it just flows and we just have a conversation. But when you take the whole stage, it's intimidating. I give just like such a mad respect to anyone, myself included, for having the balls to do this, to like tell their story or bring their stuff out and not care what people say or think, especially when we're in this territory. It's witch wound, right? So anyway, I don't want to beat a dead bat. Why did I say that? It seemed like a witchy thing to say. And I'm not a witch, I'm an alchemist. But anyway, okay, enough of that. Thank you, Mari. I'm just seeing a comment here. You've got so much to bring through here. Yeah, I do. That was part of the problem. Like, there's a lot to share and there's a lot to be done. And I've got a lot to bring through. And I look forward to doing that. I look forward to the creative process. I look forward because, when you're a message messenger, a receiver, you don't know yet either. And especially when it starts streaming, for me, sometimes I'm just streaming it and it's news to me as it's streaming through. I'm like, wow, whoa, so I watch it again. This is not the case in this one really, but I am babbling on too long. And I just wanted to thank you and close this space like we opened it, just as a moment together. I want this to be a moment together. And I am so grateful for. And I am grateful for the assistance of divine, the presence of divine, my angels, ancestors, light family on all levels, Mother, Father, God, the one. Thank you. Amen. Oh, bless up.